We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here today with Ezenwanyi Abii, and she is coming to us via Houston, Texas, and she has so many different angles of the real estate business to share with us and talk to us about that we are really, really hopeful that we're going to learn something. She is an attorney, she's a real estate agent, and she's basically seen a lot of these transactions from many different angles. So Ezenwanyi, welcome. How are you today?
I am very well. Thank you, Casey, for having me on. Looking forward to
Absolutely. We're always glad to have somebody on that can share with us. Again, like I said, like we were talking pre-show, I have a view of the real estate business from several different angles as well. And what's interesting about this discussion is that you have them from basically every angle that I don't, other than, of course, the real estate agent part. But so tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how you got where you are, and then we'll kind of take it into the professional world from there.
All right, sounds good. I'll try to be brief. I am Nigerian, born in Nigeria, raised in Houston, Texas. I went to college and grad school. Well, first phase of grad school in Houston, Texas. And that's sort of when I got started in real estate. Started in the sense I met a few people who were flipping houses back then. And I got a little curious because I met a few people who were kind of paying for college with flipping houses. I didn't really get into it myself until I went through business school and finished up law school. And eventually I keep saying real estate was how I paid off my school loans. So I got into flipping. That was my first foray into the space.
Awesome. So flipping can make you an old person really quick, especially when you start dealing with, because there's so many different moving pieces from all the way down to the contractors that maybe don't show up when they're supposed to, all the way back up the hill to the making of the deal in general. And if you don't find those deals, you don't have your next income, and blah, 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 on and on and on. Right.
Yeah.
So where did you, so let's talk a little bit about grad school. Where did you go to grad school at?
So I did, I was one of those, I really liked school. So I did my JD, my law degree was in Houston, University of Houston, and I completed my MBA at Howard University in DC.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you the University of Houston has a whoop-ass basketball team. They've been up and coming for many, many years. Every year, I'm going to say started in about 2014 or 2015. I always routinely have the University of Houston going a little bit further than most people feel comfortable. So that's a side note. I'm a big fan of them and what they've got going on. Their coach is top notch. So anyway,
they've gotten really good over the past few years.
Yes. And they're always a sleeper because they're just the University of Houston. Well, they've really brought it on. So anyway, all right. So then you went to DC. Now did the DC part of your life consist of house flipping as well?
No, the DC part of my life was really a desire to escape from Houston. I think I'd just been in Houston so long that I wanted to do something else. So that was, as we talked about pre-show about just personal experiences, I wanted just to give myself a set of new experiences. So I moved out to DC. I was in New York for a while. I was in London for a while. And it was just in 20s, I wanted to just live and do nothing, not do nothing, but live and have fun. We'll put it that way.
A lot of people want to do that, but don't. And I would have been one of those people that wanted to do that and didn't. So very, very, very intriguing story to start in Houston. So let's see, Houston, DC, New York, London, and then back to Houston, right?
And then Charlotte, North Carolina. I was with Bank of America for a little bit, and then back to Houston, Texas. And that's really when I decided to, start doing stuff on my own versus just learning about it or thinking about it.
And you in the midst of all of that, you got a law degree.
Mhm.
And so your law degree. Now, tell us a little bit about. So let's move past the house flipping, and what came after the house flipping, and then after the law degree.
Okay, so let's see, a chronological order. Finished law school in
Okay.
Houston, moved to DC, started doing some legal work there while I was enjoying life,
Okay.
and then finished my MBA because I started my MBA, but I didn't finish when I was in Houston because I was kind of burnt out. And then I finished my MBA in DC. So it was JD, Houston, MBA, DC, hanging out, having fun, traveling, all of that. Then started doing jobs in the business field. So because of a JD MBA, I did some contract legal work, and then I moved into business work,
Okay.
procurement contracts specifically. And then I moved back to Houston and took a job with an oil and gas company here in contracts as well. So that was a return back to Houston. That was the sort of maturing stage of life. Then I got into flipping or trying to look for real estate investments, and then decided to use that to pay off school loans and eventually get really into working for myself and my own real estate entrepreneurial journey.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, so there was a time in your life where you basically didn't do anything but go to school, as it
Yeah.
seemed like. I mean,
Yes.
that's intriguing to me, because I was one of those people that just I would get up hungover, feeling terrible. I would go do the minimal amount of work, enough to get a passing grade, and then I would go home. And I just hated everything about school. And
Yeah.
so I always thought, man, it'd be cool to be an attorney. And then they were like, well, you got to go to school. Oh yeah, about that. So yeah, I never wanted to be a doctor, never had a science mind or anything like that. But so that's pretty cool that you got an MBA, you got a law degree. I mean, you're stacked for at least from the education perspective, which is honestly about I learned after college that you learn about half what you need to know in college by the book, and then you learn the other half when your boots actually hit the ground and you actually have to start bringing human emotion into some of the things they described in those books. So what was your first real estate investment post everything you just said? What was your first investment? What did it look like, and how did it work?
My very first investment, I actually didn't realize it was one at the time, and that was the house I bought for myself. I don't believe in buying, I don't believe in paying full price for houses.
Sure.
So I was searching for foreclosure at the time, and my realtor at the time found something that was a tax sale, and that was what I purchased. So essentially, I bought it. I was house hacking it. I rented. I was a 3-bedroom townhouse in the middle of the city in Houston at the time when the city was just getting gentrified, but it hadn't fully gone full scale. So I purchased it, tax sale, rented out the 2 bedrooms in it. So my tenants were paying for the mortgage while I put some money aside to really get into flipping and doing things on my own. And 2 or 3 years later, it had appreciated a full 100%. And then
Oh
I sold.
wow. God
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah, so that was my first kind of, oh, okay, this could be something.
Wow. 400%. I
A
mean,
hundred, no
oh,
four,
100%.
a
I said
hundred.
400. I was like, God
No.
dang.
A
For
full
400%,
hundred.
a
Yeah, it was a
full
hundred
100.
percent.
Gotcha. It was that Houston accent that caught me off.
Okay, no. 400. I probably would have quit working much sooner, but at the time I still needed to work. But it was essential for me. So, sort of what we talked about earlier. Going to school, I mean, I think it's a little different. Being an immigrant in the U.S., part of what's drilled down into me, at least, was make sure that you have the fund.
Time out. You immigrant into the US. Did we go into did my mind just skip over where did you immigrate from?
Well, I was born in Nigeria, and then I came to the States right after middle school. Right. So a lot of that
Oh,
was you're here to go to school, like just get what you need to get done.
I got you. Okay. Well, that adds a different element of almost diversity, as well as another possible, like another obstruction for you getting what you want to get
Yeah,
based on some of that. I don't know if I missed that,
absolutely.
but no, absolutely. That's what a wonderful feat. I mean, that's a lot of steps you're pretty far separated from that now, obviously from moving, but yes, you
Yeah.
basically faced adversity from every angle. And
Yeah.
then, so wow, congratulations on that. I missed that. So anyway, all right. So, so you came here after middle school, then the whole
Mhm.
college, high school, college experiences, all of that. And so, but then you started seeing the cash flow ability that real estate brought to your life.
Absolutely.
And so you're house hacking basically at this point,
Mhm.
right? And then where did it go from there?
So house hacking, and when I sold it, got the cash out, it became okay. Let's pay off the school loans. And I keep mentioning the school loans because for me, having to do the entrepreneurial thing and kind of just pursue my exciting
Sure,
objective
sure.
would have been a little challenging with the weight of debt for me. So that was something that I needed to get rid of very quickly, and then really started funding or investing in smaller projects, other people's projects, while I still had my job. So that helped build some revenue. I think about 4 years after that sale, I was comfortable enough to go ahead and take the real estate exam myself, so I can start taking care of the deals myself.
Yeah,
And 2 years after that, I went ahead and quit my day job and decided to just go all in into my own business as an attorney and a realtor, and really just trying to build and tie those two worlds together.
sure. Sure. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about your realtor experience. So on your sales, are you procuring clients out of that like in a full circle kind of deal where, hey, I can be your attorney, your realtor, and we can do everything, or what does that look like?
Well, when I started, it was just as a realtor, right? Because I
Okay.
had a day job that I had to maintain. So I didn't want to say I could be your attorney and do all this and that. I just wanted to kind of rack up some more funds to secure this foray and diving to the entrepreneurship.
Sure.
So it was really just working as a realtor, weekends, evenings, people that I know, friends of friends, trying to put myself out there as a realtor through my inner circle.
Yeah. Wow. And then so that's kind of a different angle on income too. I mean, you can take that income and kind of bundle it together with everything else and really probably live a pretty decent life. So
Yeah.
what does your real estate investing stuff look like right now? I mean, do you still have any of the some of the first deals that you ever made? Do you still own any of those, or have you full cycled or turned out and sold all of those and then put the cash elsewhere?
Yeah, so those have all been full cycle, turned out, put the cash elsewhere. What I do have now is a couple lots. So from my experience buying in certain areas of town that were gentrifying, I noticed that I could buy some land, pay cash, hold onto it for a while. And that's been very, very lucrative, very fruitful, because as the areas have been changing, once, because I lived in certain areas, I could see what was coming, I could anticipate. So even when I moved away, I tried to own land over there. And now we're beginning the stages of developing myself. So I have myself, and then I pulled a partner in. We are beginning the stages of trying to do our own development. I'm still interested in flipping and doing some things on the side, which is where the whole range comes in, because I can have the realtor, the day job, the investing, and now really trying to get my feet wet with developments as well, with the expectation
Sure.
that in 5 to 10 years, of course, I'll be more experienced in that space and have something else that I can be working on.
Awesome. Well, and that's really, I mean, somebody that has that vision, and the vision is the part that, again, one of those things that maybe you don't learn in school, you learn from actually getting out, looking, seeing, doing. That vision has really helped you kind of move on down the path there.
Yeah.
So with these, I'm trying to go, I want to go back. So you bought the lots and then you moved to DC and you just held the lots, right?
No, this is after my return to Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, all of this is
Okay.
after my return to Houston, because when I returned to Houston was sort of when I took the job, and that's when I started purchasing property, because there was a bit more stability. In DC, there was a lot of travel and fun. See, everything you did in college, I was doing that. I was
Gotcha.
doing that over there. So there wasn't much planning at that time. It was just having fun and being done with grad school, earning some income and living in a city. It was just
So question that I've got, let's go back to the immigration part. Not
okay.
to just keep beating that, but what was your parents, obviously, or your father, your mother, or the combination thereof, what was the reason for, what was the initial reason for coming over here? School, or did you come on your own? What was that?
Okay, we can dive into that a little bit. My mother at the time was my mother and my father were separated. My mother was here. She had migrated. She was already working and establishing herself. So I grew up in Nigeria. In the last year, I guess the early years of my teenage years was with my father. At the time, I moved and came over to myself by myself to come live with my mom. I'm an only child, so I came over here.
Yeah.
But my father was passing away, so he passed away very quickly after I got here. So the idea was here: make sure you go to school and figure yourself out, pretty much.
Sure.
So yes, that's my immigrant story. I came in here, I think I started working by the time I was 15. I was at McDonald's. I was doing all kinds of other stuff. And the plan, for me anyway, it was just, I think what happens when you, not only when you know, this is 13, 14. So you're going through the personal change of just puberty, and now you're transitioning to a new country and you've lost a parent. And there was just so much going on that I think in the back of my head, part of the schooling and everything else was just, hey, you have to survive. You have to survive and thrive, but you have to figure this out.
Yeah, that survival instinct has to be probably considerably deeper in you than it would be in, say, myself, just knowing that if I failed, I was still here. I mean, I wasn't going to be. So what career did your mother take?
She was in healthcare. She's still in healthcare. Yeah.
Awesome. And what an opportunity too, to come over here and have that. Cause I don't know that, you know, just a lot of things there. Wow. That's a lot, just to unpack and figure out there, and just so wonderful for you to have figured it out and had some enjoyment along the way. So, all right. So there was another question I had there a minute ago. I was just sitting here thinking,
yeah, we've gone through a wide range of things. So we kind of need
have. Yeah, and I want to try to tie all these strings together into probably some of your real estate legal knowledge. Have you been involved in any commercial real estate litigation or anything like that?
Litigation, not so much. No, we have a few things. I have a few cases that have to do with more landlord-tenant, commercial landlord and tenant issues. Usually we settle those in mediation to some capacity. We haven't had any, I haven't had any major litigation. And that's probably part of by design. I went full-time into having my law practice myself in 2020. I have 2 young kids. I really don't have the capacity to go dive into intense litigation. So I didn't mention I'm a licensed mediator. So a lot of times I would try to talk to my clients to have us figure out a way to resolve issues without the expense of litigation. Litigation sounds great, but it's very expensive.
Oh, litigation doesn't sound great.
some people enjoy the fight.
Yeah, my gosh, I can guarantee you I don't.
Enjoy the fight. I try to kind of come with more of a collaborative approach when it comes to our legal issues in that sense. And so far, it's been a couple of years as a full-time attorney. And I say full-time because I always kind of kept my job and did all the other things. But now as a full-time attorney and doing real estate on the side, the vision is to have a brokerage and a law practice. And if there are issues that require litigation, I can always outsource it. But the goal is really to have more collaborative and fruitful results to just, disagreements.
Sure. One in an effort to kind of tie back together some of the things we've talked about. I know what that question was I was going to ask a minute ago, and it dawned on me about 2 seconds into that last part where you were talking about that. But gentrification, I know there's probably a segment of our listeners, if not all of our listeners. I'd like for you to give a little definition to that, and a little maybe a little more backstory, and then just tell us about that.
Okay. I would say in every major city, and this is based on my couple of decades in the US, but in every major city, you tend to see where the areas that are underdeveloped or underutilized. And what happens over time is developers or people come in and they want to, I want to say take advantage of, but that sounds bad, but they want to take advantage of the opportunities in that these areas provide, whether it be low cost of land purchasing or the lack of real development. So they have space, they sort of have a canvas to create something.
Yeah.
And what happens over time is the developers come in, they move into areas that are not being utilized. I mean, people may be living there, but they're not using the space to the utmost, to the best capacity. And what these people come in is they come in, create new things, new shops, new retail, new houses, and things change. That has happened in various parts of Houston. It's still happening. And of course, sometimes some of the clients and people in the clientele that I work with may not be at the forefront of these changes. Sometimes we end up coming in a little bit later or in the middle of it when we have started seeing things happen. I find that because I have lived in the city and I was always so interested in real estate early on, I was able to spot certain areas of town in the beginning. And there are things you would notice, an area that isn't very beautiful generally, and all of a sudden you see the city begin to make changes in the area, right? They begin to fix the roads, they begin to sort of change the signs and the lights. Little things like that can always give you an insight into what the city potentially could be thinking of in an area that's not properly utilized. That's always a ticker for me when I go somewhere and you think, oh no, people don't really live here, people don't really, this is I use underutilized, but yes, it's an area of town that isn't the best. But all of a sudden, the city wants to fix the parks. The city is fixing the streets. The city is fixing the lights. You should pay attention to either what sales and what land deals that have occurred in that area, and also to potentially any variance filings in the city in terms of development permits that have been applied for, because that could give you a clue to what's changing before you actually see the buildings come up.
Wow. So again, one word keeps ringing in my head, just bouncing around, and it's vision. It's all about vision. And it's just, it goes back to basically who you are as a person. I mean, everything you've had since the day you landed here has just been a vision. And you've done probably one of the better jobs that I can recall in recent memory of chasing that vision and really just at some degree always kind of accomplishing what you've set out and had visioned to do, right? And that's that gentrification, that whole explanation there really is highest and best use when you bring things that to the city, where the city starts changing. And like you said, when you started in the land deals, you lived in those areas, you knew what was coming, you had a vision for where it was going, and then here you are. So what does all of that look like today? What are we doing daily today? I mean, obviously some legal work, some real estate realtor, a real estate agent in the real estate agent space. What does all that look like as of today?
So I will use the past couple of days as an example. I'm helping a client who is a budding developer as well purchase some new land in a gentrifying area of the city. I'm currently working on a couple commercial lease issues. One is an issue, one is just a lease agreement that we're putting into place. And that's from the legal side and the realtor side. And then we just got permits on some of the developments that we're working on. I say we, because I have a partner in terms of the development side of things. For our projects, and also assisting other entrepreneurs who want to venture into this space, but don't have the time, capacity, or the network. So we have a few builders that we talk. I have a meeting with a couple of builders tomorrow. So yes, that's what it looks like. It's a smorgasbord of all real estate stuff going on at the same time, but I enjoy it. I tend to do, I think I have what I call an octopus brain. I function well with multiple things going on at once. If you put one thing down, I get bored very easily. So it works for me, and I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, I was in corporate for about 8-9 years, growing and doing well, but this is, I can't stop. So I mean, this is just fantastic. I love it.
Interesting. Well, that's awesome. Well, good for you. So, hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate, but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cash Flow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show. All right. Well, listen, as we kind of approach towards the end of every episode, I have a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer. They just they're a way for you to give the listeners a peek into your life and maybe some personal stuff that you've got. But what is the best book that you have either recently read or are currently reading?
Oh, wow. I'm currently reading Game Changers by Dave Asprey. I think he's the founder of Bulletproof Radio, or Bulletproof. He does a lot of biohacking. Currently reading it now. Fantastic read. Just because there's so much we don't know, and I love knowledge and acquiring information, and this book has just been enlightening in so many ways, and also exposing me to other people, similar to what Tim Ferriss does. I don't know if you know Tim Ferriss, but one of his books was
Oh
the
yeah.
4 Hour Work Week, right? I also like his book, which I'm always reading because it's too big to finish in one, but Tool of Titans and A Tribe of Mentors. Those are two that I really like, because once again, you get to learn and hear from other people and from their experiences, and they have experiences that I don't have, right? I mean, it's lots of things that I don't know. And coming from where I come from, it's just interesting to get to see how other people think and function and think about life and business. Those 3 books that I just mentioned are really, really good reads as an entrepreneurial person, as a business person, as just an individual. Those have been fantastic.
Awesome. Great answers. So let me, this next one is typically one question. This is going to be 2-part question, but do you ever go back to Nigeria at all? Do you still have family there that you've ever gone to visit? Because the reason I asked that is I've got a tenant in one of my commercial spaces that he's from Nigeria as well, and he's getting ready to go back next week. And I was just wondering, do you ever make a trip back there at all?
Yeah, I go back every few years. My last visit was early 2020, and I actually took my young kids. I go back every few years. I have cousins, large extended family that I go visit and just spend time with.
Awesome. Man, that's great. Okay, so the next question is, what is a dream vacation that you have either taken or hope to take?
Ooh, is that 1 part or 2 part?
It can be 10-part if you want. The answer is all yours.
Okay, dream vacation that I have taken. I don't know, some people may not consider this a dream, but at some point right after I finished school, finally, so that was at the end of business school, I toured Western Europe with my giant backpack. It was a fantastic experience. I took the ferry from London to Amsterdam. I slept on the train to Portugal. I just laid around in the park in Spain. I sat around in Italy. It was just a fantastic 3 weeks of my life. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So that was a dream, because it was like, hey, you're done with school. Before you get into this serious adulting life, go do something that's just, not the most responsible.
Yes. I tell you, that whole backpacking across Europe, I've backpacked, if you want to call it that. Like, I just call it that because that's like the cool term, right? We packed up in Florence and took a train to Rome. And I could just, and I was so enthralled with just one thing about myself that, like, a lot of people like, and my listeners are probably well aware of this as well. A lot of people like to go to the beach, right? Well, my beach is culture, just culture, like just going in, sitting down at somebody's table, breaking bread with them, obviously trying to create some type of dialect if there's
Right.
not, if I'm not able to speak their language. But in other words, like Clark Griswold did in European Vacation, where he just knocked on some random person's door in Germany and thought it was their cousins, and they went in and sat down and started eating and so on. But it's just that's my beach, that's my sunset, that's my everyday. Is just immersing myself in different cultures and learning what makes people tick. And
Yeah.
that's that whole backpacking across Europe is most definitely, I don't know, I guess I say this every episode that somebody comes on here and they talk about their dream vacation. I'm like, oh wow, I hadn't thought about that. But backpacking in Europe is definitely, anywhere in Europe is definitely on my list. So
Yeah.
well, listen,
Have a great experience.
if the listeners heard something today and maybe they want to reach out to you, and I know we have a ton of listeners across Texas in general, and Texas is, real estate law speaking, kind of its own nation, if you will. They have their own set of everything as
Of
far as
everything.
the laws go. And so if we do, not just in Texas, but if we have a listener that'd like to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm very attentive to the social media. So Abii Legal, Abii Legal on Instagram. I think I have a TikTok now, and I'm sure, yeah. So yeah.
Better be
Social
TikTok, and
media,
everybody else is.
I was trying to hide from all of it, and I just feel like we need to embrace it. So yes, I'm on there. I'm there. You send a message. If I don't respond, somebody from my team will definitely respond. I am available to talk, chat.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. And listeners, you heard right there how to reach out to her and get whatever information. I know my Texans down there. Come on, everybody. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? So give her a call or give her a shout out. And I want to thank you again for being with us today. And listeners, thank you so much for your time today. And if you don't care, head down, hit that subscribe button, smash, tap, elbow, eye, ear, whatever you want to do to that subscribe button, and leave us a 5-star review as well. We would most certainly appreciate it. And again, I want to thank everybody for your time, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Cashflow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.